Hey, hi, welcome everyone to the ninth episode in our Everything Product series. Let me introduce our panelists today. First, we have Anaya Bakshi. Thanks, Anaya, for joining.
Thanks.
Anaya is Associate Director of Engineering at GS Lab Gavs. She brings a vast 19 plus years of experience, including 8 of those years, in agile project management and for engineering engagements of large international product-based MNCs and startups. So she has been involved in a lot of that work. She has also done the PMI, ACP, the Agile Certified Practitioner certification, right? And Anaya has been the delivery owner for variety of domains, cloud, networking, providing solutions for designing integrations and automations. Thanks, Anaya, for joining us today.
Thanks, Manda, for having me.
Next, we have Rahul. Welcome, Rahul. So Rahul is our Associate Manager Engineering at GS Lab Gaps. Brings over 13 years of experience in telecom, managed services, and engineering industry. Rahul's expertise lies in project management, handling timelines, budgets, engagement modes. Uh, he also holds the certifications as a PMP as well as a Scrum Master. And Rahul, interestingly, actively participates in project management volunteering initiatives. Thanks for being here today, Rahul.
Hey, thanks, Manda. Thanks for having me.
So yeah, let's get into it. So we have titled it as predicting the unpredictable. So why don't we, help our listeners, by setting the context. So maybe Rahul, let me first turn to you. Why don't you help us with the overall PM context and also the PMP principles in brief, and maybe you can even explain a couple of those terms also. Thanks.
Sure, thanks. Hey, hi everyone. Good morning, good evening. So, as the topic suggests, before going into much deeper, I would like to talk about what is project management. So, project management is simply using your skills and techniques to complete a series of tasks, and it can be an act of planning, organizing, and managing your project in order to achieve your predefined goal or outcome. Whenever somebody wants to pursue any project management course or tries to learn more about it, we do have one organization which is PMI, Project Management Institute. It's a non-profit professional organization which has over the years developed some guidelines and principles for managing your projects. They do have some key knowledge areas as well as some process group which are majorly applicable to all the projects whatever we do. And those guidelines or the process group are initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and then closing. So these five process group applies to all the projects which we manage. uh, uh, Project Management Institute is kind of become a gold standard in project management. They do have their 12 principles of project management. Uh, PM or a project manager is kind of steward, which steadies the ship, or who serves as a main diligent or respectful person who takes care of the project management team. It's also responsibility of project manager to create a collaborative project team environment, then effectively engage with stakeholders, focus on values of the project management, then recognize and evaluate and respond to the interactions, different interactions. Also demonstrate leadership behaviors and tailor based on the context. Plus, he has to deal with the quality principles into processes and deliverables, navigate complexity, and optimize risk responses. So, apart from that, project management has to embrace adaptability. That's what we are going to talk today, more about the adaptability, and then enable change based on the new challenges. So these 12 principles, along with the four values of PM community, which are responsibility, respect, fairness, and honesty, that drives the whole project management uh, thing. So that summarizes the project management.
Right. Thanks, Rahul. So I think, we realize that it's a very multifaceted, activity and leadership role, which is very crucial. Takes a lot, beyond just the engineering principles or technology principles. So why don't we flash the first audience poll question? And right, so this is a question on the Empire State Building's construction, which one of the landmark uh, constructions in the modern architecture era. Okay, we can see what people have voted. So a lot of times we get to learn from other fields also, right? So that's why we thought of this question. If the audience answers are in, we can see what people have voted for. Okay, so most people have voted for multiple floors built at the same time. So that is the correct answer.
Correct answer. Right.
Good. So I think people have voted correctly. So thanks everyone for pitching in. So now, Anaya, let me come to you. So you bring a vast experience in product engineering. So building on the context that Rahul sort of set up, right? Could you please walk us through that, specifically product engineering context, and then also we'll move to a couple of other points that I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mandar. Hey, good evening, good morning, everyone. So, as your question was pointing out correctly, Mandar, project management doesn't restrict itself to software engineering at all. Rather, it PMI or the principle started with non-software industry, specifically manufacturing, civic, and then later it spread its arms to software. But software industry adapted it pretty quickly, and I think that is when even when it comes to AI, I think we are going to adapt it pretty nicely since we are so fluent to it. Coming to product engineering, I think project management for product engineering, in a simple words, would be basically building something entirely new, something very huge, and building it from scratch, or engineering few pieces of a solution, which for a software which is already there, or integrating with a solution and bringing together two softwares. So if you see, this project could span from 1 week to 1 month to multi-years. And hence, when it comes to software industry, multiple models evolved over the years. One of the standard and traditional is waterfall, which has been pretty consistent for many years. And then agile started taking over. So even if in your question, when they started building multiple floors at the same time, I think it is part of one of the agile principle where you start sampling on a few areas, and based on the success or failure rates, you keep repeating the strategies rather than scratching everything from new. So waterfall and agile had been the two traditional model, and then comes the hybrid, where depending on the each project's requirement and complexity, hybrid model evolved, where a traditional waterfall has been using few strategies for agile and few traditional methodologies. Uh, at Now, depending on each project's complexity and its execution, uh, we can further segregate into a couple of types depending on what focus your project is, where there is no time constraint or a cost constraint, where your project is more on a focus bound, where you have to achieve something but you do not want how would be more on the research based project. Second type would be a project where your cost is fixed, that is your own budget, but time is a flexibility, So you may or may not achieve what you are targeting, but you can get close to it. And the third type will be time bound, where your time is fixed. You have to achieve something during that time, where cost is not really a key criteria here. So we can, in the next examples, maybe I'll keep referring to these models where it would be easy for us to uh, checking how AI can best help us. But overall, when I'm saying all the PMO activities, the key motive which we can achieve by AI is freeing up a project manager from repetitive and monotonous tasks, which I think 60 or 70% of the time has been spent, and then he can focus on more key areas of project management, that is risk management or stakeholder management. Are so definitely AI has been blessing for us, and as Rahul said, adaptability has been a key, where if we can adapt more and more AI methodologies, we can process well.
Great, great, perfect. So we are going to launch into more of the discussion and get into the bulk of that. Before that, would you sort of walk us through how you look at the traditional ML and versus the new Gen AI, right? So maybe you can elaborate on that, and then we will delve into the nitty-gritties of it.
Yeah, so traditional machine learning had been more on predictive analysis, where you have used to get a certain data for 1 year or 2 year, and the machine learning used to identify the pattern based on a more of a statistical understanding of the information, and based on that, the futuristic prediction used to happen. When we say generative AI, AI has again not new. It has been in uh, research in last 4 to 5 years. It has been open to public thanks to OpenAI's ChatGPT from last year. And as you can see, the strength of generative AI has been an NLP, the natural language processing. The reason I would say more of it would be natural language would have been the first area for any AI or artificial intelligence tool, would have been, since it is the first interface for us to machines. I think natural language processing have been the initial part the machine learning. Soon, AI would is moving already to face recognition, emotional recognitions, and sentimental analysis. We have a way to go, but I'll say at this moment, generative AI is more. Its strength is NLP, or the natural language processing. Rahul, would you like to add anything on this?
Absolutely. You have differentiated it very well. Broadly, when we talk about AI or artificial intelligence, many people confuse it with, automation. So, automation or machine learning is different. Our conventional AI or artificial intelligence, tries to enhance the data which we share it with them. Gen AI, as the name suggests, it's a generative AI, which based on the pre-trained transformer or the information. In simple words, whatever information we feed to the module, to the prompts, based on that, it intelligently processes that data and creates a result, which is similar to what inputs we have given, but it would be something enhanced or something of a value, which will have some mathematical resemblance or the correlation with the data, but it will generate the enhanced results. So that's how it's different from our traditional AI.
Got it. Thanks both for elaborating on that. I think that helps set that context as well on the AI front. So now let me come to Rahul. So Rahul, we want to sort of now start delving into the areas where generative AI can specifically help, right? So I know you have also thought quite deeply about this. So over to you. Please walk us through that.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic, Mandar. It was not, I mean, it's not long back, maybe few years back when even I was reluctant to adapt to go into even using a tool. I'm from those days where I use even for preparing a project management plan I have used Excel. I have even used pen and paper. But when with the evolution of AI and some tools which are there for helping project managers to ease their job, I can think of broadly three categories. Maybe when I as a project manager talk about simplifying my activities, I can broadly classify my activities into three types. Maybe simple, moderate, and then complex activities. And three key areas where Gen AI can help project manager are, first I can say automation, where there could be some of my activities which are quite simple, and I may not have to recheck those. So if I get help of an AI to do it for me, I may not have to look into it whether that data is correct or not. So those could be simple activities. So let's say, I mean, we are having a project meeting, and there were multiple stakeholders. They have given their inputs, and at the end of the meeting, I can simply summarize the meeting notes with the help of an AI. I don't have to even go and check that with very little or no human interaction to cross check that data. Second, it can be generating a report, my weekly or quarterly status reports. So I can actually prepare certain standard prompts and share it across with the team members, and irrespective of the project, Gen AI can help to simplify those uh, simple reports, generate those reports, summarize my meeting notes, analyze certain documents for me, and I can just relax on that simple activities front. Second, let's say second mode can be activities which are little complex, which may need some my interventions. Let's say I need to do some cost benefit analysis for my project, or I need to do some scheduling plans over a period of 6 or 8 months. So I can still use Gen AI. Gen AI can draft something for me. Just let's say my cost benefit analysis. I can ask the Gen AI or use the prompt to create certain drafts. Then I can have experts to review that draft, and then make changes according to my project, to the cost benefit analysis, or be it scheduling, or even doing the risk analysis. For risk analysis, I can simply use the prompts or standardize certain prompts to do the risk analysis based on my data. But after that, as it's a critical document or critical step, I may have to refer that to the expert and get their opinion, or even I can work on that first-hand document from JNAI prompt, and modify it according to my need, if there needs to be any correction or updation. So, and third and complex, I can term it as an augmentation. Maybe there are certain activities where, as a project manager, I have to put in more efforts, but still, as I mentioned, simple activities or getting a first hand draft, these activities can actually help me build a case where I can use Gen AI for complex activities. Let's say I need to do the uh, outstanding business case. So my project is quite complex. I need to build a case, the entire business case for small activities which are having some interdependencies and variables. For those kind of data, I can take help from Gen AI. I can prepare some initial database for me, and then I can use that data where maybe 80 or 90% of the job would be a human job or my job, where the critical decision making, complex changes which I need to make into that business case. But yeah, Gen AI can definitely help me with variables, supporting with some interdependencies. But yeah, I can figure out these three broad areas where we can go and take help from Gen AI.
I think that sets a good framework of looking at it, because you have nicely categorized them into three different levels. And elaborated on that. So before we go to Anaya, maybe we can flash the second audience poll question. So this might be again interesting for people from the software world, but let's see. So all right, we can see what our audience has voted for. Okay, so again, most of you have guessed right. It was around managing the development of that very complex project of Linux kernel, so by Linus Torvalds, right? Thanks everyone for voting in that. I hope you are finding the questions interesting. So yeah, Anaya, I'm moving to you. So again, we want to continue to talk more on the areas where GenAI is able to help. Would love to get your views on that.
Yeah, absolutely, Mandar. I think Rahul had summarized it pretty correctly. All the raw work which has been in ownership of project managers has been the first thing that has taken care by GenAI, and we are hoping that it will continue doing so. So, based on the survey recently collected, I think it was done last year by PMI organization. They asked multiple around. More than 500 managers based on their viewpoints of which soft skills would be irrelevant for a future project management, and the top answers were data literacy and uh, articulating the thoughts and generating documentation, whereas the skills which project manager feel would be the most relevant to future project manager would be innovative mindset and driving the data, basically making decision based on your data availability, so data driven decisions. These two would be the key skills that would be relevant to future project manager, and I think we are on the right track when we are seeing the responsibilities that Gen AI is picking up from our plate. So data driven decision making, since we were talking about that, uh, AI is great when it comes to statistical data, since machine learning has been its base. So numerical data and statistical data is something AI can read up quickly, analyze quickly, and it can identify the anomalies. So if you're doing any progress tracking for your project, your AI can quickly highlight you the risk areas, how your graph is moving, and where it is going to either collapse or go into the amber or red area where you will need to worry about. And based on this predictive analysis, you can take more informed decision at this moment rather than in the future. So these decisions can be about budgets, timelines, even resource allocations as well. Similarly, when it comes to cost management, uh, we Rahul already mentioned that we can generate reports based on cost. But one more factor I would say, if I'm a new project manager I'm a project manager who's handling a project from a newer technology, newer domain, and I'm not very fluent with the risk associated with this. Gen AI can provide me inputs based on the cost drivers. So it can helps me the uh, suggesting the key cost drivers. I can at least make a note of it and then do a better budgeting and financial planning based on those areas. Especially when it comes to technology, where technologies are changing every 6 months, newer versions are coming. If recent version is going to reduce your development time by say 30%, AI can help making this informative decision to the project manager. uh, Again, on the similar line, scheduling is another area. So many of you might be aware of Gantt chart. It is a chart where on the right and left hand side you will see all the tasks specified to the project. You will have the engineers, and then on your rows columns it would be your timeline. And it was a tedious task for a project manager to do the resource allocation, finding the dependencies between multiple tasks, allocating the resources so that the dependencies would be completed before the new engineer can take up his task. Uh, Developers, QAs, reviewers, designers. It was a huge task, and platforms like Microsoft Project has been born to take care of such information. With the help of recent ChatGPT 4 to be precise, you can generate the Gantt chart within minutes. And that had been a best help to a project manager who had to do this activity day in, day out. All he needs to take care of, feed the correct data and review it once your timeline and budgeting is ready. So I think this is one of the example. At the same time, I will also add up uh, planning for your project and doing risk management. Okay, risk which are unidentified and which are not had been basically populated by your AI. So I'll suggest don't only rely on what had the pointers given by AI, and project manager will always be aware of the risk management, and risk management should not be relied completely on Gen AI. So these two areas, I'll say AI is pretty new right now. Planning and risk management has to be taken care by PM at this moment.
These are quite fascinating areas, and I think you have elaborated on some of the key components of an overall project management journey. So thanks for that. Let me take one quick question from the audience since it pertains to the early part of your answer. The two soft skills that you mentioned. So one question is around, could you please repeat that particular part? I think you initially
Okay.
mentioned two soft skills.
Those soft skills which won't be needing going forward. Okay, one was data literacy or language literacy. So we had been global after pandemic, and we have seen teams working with each other irrespective of language, geological location, and culture. In the past, it's my personal experience where I used to work with a Japanese customer. Uh, there were designated interpreters allocated to the teams. The project manager has to have the Japanese language certification and should be able to communicate with the team. And engineers used to take help from that. So this barrier is very thin at this moment. Gen AI can take care of translation and language literacy part, and it is not relevant at this moment. And a second area would be compliance and sorry, my bad. It was data science skills. So, based on the graph, it is mentioned that data science and understanding the statistics, pointing out the data, collaborating data, and putting it into the right bracket has been replaced by Gen AI. You can simply populate an entire paragraph of your analysis, and Gen AI can create a tabular format for your information. So it can you can reduce your time on understanding the data and focus on the readily available summarized data given by Gen AI.
Got it. Thanks. Let me come to Rahul. So, Rahul, would you like to walk us through some of the practical examples that you would want to share with the audience?
Absolutely, Mandar. In fact, Anaya has touched upon many areas where any project manager would face difficulties and would definitely have Gen AI as their a supporting hand. I would start with one of the area which Anaya mentioned about uh, cost analysis, or simply analyzing your project cost or budget. So even for those who are not aware, there are multiple terms in project management where project manager, while working around budget or schedule, and even analyzing whether where the project is going as per schedule, or whether it's on budget or behind or ahead. There are multiple terms which I will use, keeping in mind or just hoping that some of you are aware about it or you get to know about those terms as the name suggests. So, let's say an example on cost benefit analysis. So, my project was budgeted at $1 million and it was scheduled for 6 months. And then after 3 months, my actual cost, which I've spent on that particular project, is $654,000, and project completion is around 37%. So now, I mean, if I have to give an update whether my project is over budget or under budget, or whether it's ahead of the schedule or on schedule or behind the schedule, then as a project manager, there are different calculation which I have to do. I need to look into the budgeted cost, then do some earn value analysis, then do some cost performance index analysis, or even schedule performance index analysis. So there are multiple calculations, and these numbers which I have taken as an example, 37%, 6 months or 3 months, and even 1 million as a project budget. These are still simple. There are multiple scenarios where I may have to deal with some odd numbers just based on some raw data about the project progression, and deal with it and share the status. So as a project manager, currently I may have to deal with these calculations. There are 12 or 13 different mathematical formulas that I have to use and come up with certain numbers which would indicate whether my project is on uh, within the budget and it's on track to its schedule as well. So for our example, if we consider even going by simple calculation about how much cost I have spent within 3 months, then how much it was supposed to be spent, then again how much project completion should have been done after 3 months and how much is actually done. All this data, I mean, I can even simply develop a prompt where I can just simply give in the background uh, to my training data would include all these terms. And even if I simply type my project budget as 1 million and I have spent uh, $654,000 at the end of 3 months with the completion of 37%. Then give me the project status summary for me. Then Gen AI can simply do all this calculation. It will look into my BAC, my budget. It would also calculate my earned value and plan value and simply give me the table or summary. And in our case, as after 3 months, I have completed only 37% of the project. It will simplify along with the calculation numbers and result that my budget, I mean my project is definitely over budget, because after 3 months I was supposed to complete 50% of the work with 50% of the budgeted cost, but I have completed 37% of the work with more than 50% of the cost. Similarly, it would also tell me that as I was supposed to complete 50% of the work and it's not there, so definitely my project is behind schedule. This is simple example where uh, a simple Gen AI tool can just help me with with the help of simple inputs. It can generate me data which can help me understand the current status of my project. So now that is for project managers. So uh, that's the simple example. I have worked in managed services for a longer period of time, so I can go into it with some real example. Let's say, I mean, we use phone numbers or landline telephones at our homes or at our offices, right? But while any telecom engineer, when he adds or programs a number inside a telecom switch, he needs to deal with multiple commands. So let's say, Mandar, you have ordered GS Lab that you need a telephone service at your office. Okay, so as a consumer you don't know what are different things to be done. You can simply say that you need a service, it should have these kind of features, and I want one number or two number based on your requirement. So as an engineer, if I have to add that number inside the switch, I have to check whether that number is free or not, first of all. Second, there are certain hardware stuffs which are involved while connecting a telephone line from your switch to your location. So there are certain hardware components, then there are some cable pairs, and obviously there are other factors like what kind of features you need, what kind of group you will be added. A group in the sense, what different capabilities can be allocated to that particular number, how much could be the bridge size if you are going to use a telephone bridge for any conference call. So as an engineer, he has to add a number, then he has to select that particular hardware inside a telecom switch where this number can be used for cable pairs and all. Then again, when your technician goes and connects those services, that technician also has to select proper cable pairs which are up and running and which can be useful for your telephone service. Then again, engineer has to select the different features to be added to your number. Now simply if I do some pre-analysis and give some pre-filled data to my GenAI prompt, I can feed that with the hardware, uh, or the basic stuff which are required to program a telephone number. I can uh, program my prompt with requirements, hardware, telephone number, particular, let's say, Mandar's unique identity inside that switch, and I can simply type program number 12345 for a customer Mandar, and with the feature bundle one. That's it. I mean, I don't have to remember, or I don't have to do the initial analysis where the hardware is free or not. I don't have to do the analysis which cable pairs to be used. I don't have to even check which are different features, with whether I have to add them individually or not. So all this stuff I can feed into my that AI tool, and it can just add me a number. There are two things, in fact, we can do. So I can just simply say add a number 12345 for Mandar into the switch with feature bundle one. It it can have two options, whether it will show me all the commands. So a simple task for an engineer, he doesn't have to remember all those commands. There could be 10 or 12 commands which he needs to fire inside a switch to program a number. So then AI can give you display of all the commands, or he can also execute the commands on your behalf. At the end of it, it can display that number is programmed, and it can also showcase the hardware which he has used by running its analysis inside the inventory, so that the technician, the person who is actually going on site and doing the connection, he can actually use those cable pairs which are selected by GenAI. So he doesn't have to run a check or test those cable pairs again. So that's how, I mean, even in managed services, it's a simple example of adding a telephone number, and GenAI can definitely offer huge help in that case.
Actually, very fascinating, right? The variety of tasks that it can help you with. It's mind-boggling. Thanks for those examples. Anaya, would you like to add a couple of quick ones, or?
Yeah, absolutely, Mandar. Honestly, listening to the examples Rahul provided, I am thankful that AI is take care of those complex tasks. Uh, I think even when it comes to product engineering, we are heavily relying on key tools like Jira in last many years. And suppose you take a use case, a simple use case, say I have to, with this hybrid working models, let's say you have to allocate seats to multiple teams. Few teams are going to come in a rotational basis. You have 50 teams, you have 5 days, you have very limited number of seats. And if you have to plan the seat allocations for those engineers, someone has to, or rather multiple people has to sit with pen and paper and boards, and then have multiple discussions and go through multiple conflicts to come up with a peaceful solution where it will not be conflicting. Uh, this simple example, if you create a single use case out of it and you feed it to GenAI, based on its statistical data and the data you have filled in, it can create multiple use cases to it, and it can provide you a simplistic solution to your problem. So this is a very simple example how it is going to help us in our day-to-day activity, and not just a project manager, but any manager's life would be a lot easier to that. Uh, if you have to build a use case, say if you have to build a portal to the seat allocations, a single liner, you can populate a single line to GenAI, and you can request him to populate a backlog in Jira to take care of these use cases. Gen AI will create an epic. So if you are familiar, epic is a larger user story in your agile Scrum methodology, which will contain a multiple small stories, and it will tell at how many fractional level one user story can be broken down. It will create simple user stories to for someone to simply populate a database table, to write a code to do the seat allocation, someone to design a UI, and then someone to write a backend code and Java code to write this actual application. I'm sure soon it is going to write an application as well, but thankfully we are not there yet. It will create those stories, and your Jira will be populated soon. So your product manager's job, which earlier used to take at least 2 weeks of brainstorming, has been reduced to at least 50%. After thorough review of these user stories, your next uh, next action item is to do a release planning. If your application needs to go out in say 2 weeks time, and then you are gradually going to add up small feature every 2 weeks, Gen AI can help you identifying interlink stories and highlight the nested allocations which by which the story will be linked to. And then it can create you a release plan based on which at so and so date you can release your minimum viable product to your consumers. And then after every 1.5 6 weeks of time or 8 weeks of time based on your requirement, it can populate your release management workflow by each 8 weeks. uh, your third problematic or core uh, area is creating a test plan. You identify resources, you allocated those stories, and now someone needs to create a test plan which will make sure all that user stories has been covered as a part of this test plan. Your AI will individually review each stories, and it will create a report based on those stories where whichever stories will have lesser testing coverage would be highlighted, and then you will be able to take care of it, which was purely an manual task earlier. We used to have code coverage, but testing coverage tools were pretty limited earlier. And another last and most important part in agile is reporting. So creating velocity report, creating released base burn down chart, creating engineering base burn down chart where you can even monitor performance for each engineer can be created by your Jira provides you that, but on top of it, Gen AI can provide its analysis and create a report based on each monitoring and performance. So I think this will reduce. I think I and Rahul were talking, and he highlighted that in one of his study, which he had seen from 2025, PMO's time will be reduced by 50% of what they are doing right now, and I hope that would be soon the case.
Yeah, that's a very impactful number when you look at it. So I want to quickly take a couple of questions from the audience. Since we are talking about which types of aspects can be taken care of by AI. Somebody has asked that which are the aspects of project management which may not be replaced by or will not be replaced by AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a very important question. And I mentioned earlier, planning and release management is something we cannot rely on AI completely. But stakeholder management is something we absolutely cannot hand over to AI at this moment. It is extremely, it is the responsibility where it requires a good amount of emotional intelligence. You have to have a good understanding of your stakeholders, uh, not just personality, authority, and its role in the both of the organization. and based on that you have to take a very wise decisions which cannot come from an machine learning algorithm at this moment. So stakeholder management is one of the top item I would put in this list. uh, Apart from that, one of the other key area for project manager is people management. On the similar line, people analysis and sentiment analysis is not very through with Gen AI. It has been found that Gen AI has been biased. Uh, if you get any chance, you can see a documentary on Netflix. It's called Coded Bias, and it has shown that Gen AI has been given a very much racist or biased examples, biased data. Whenever it has been searched for certain number, like for example, if you search for photos of a doctor, it will always show you a male doctor and vice versa. So people management, or wherever any emotions come into a picture, Gen AI is not the source to be rely on.
Got it. Thanks for elaborating on that. Let's actually move to some of the tools that you use, or people can use.
Yeah.
That will also be helpful for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I already mentioned Microsoft Project has been doing great help for uh, project manager across the world. It has now has a plugin with Copilot. So with Copilot's help, all the tasks which we mentioned can be easily incorporated in project managers' day-to-day activities like resource management, cost management, etc. If we are working on a smaller project and we are working with Google Sheets or Google Documents, Gemini, or which was earlier Google Bard, its plugin has been introduced to Google Sheets, so you can do a small level project management using Google Sheets. In addition to that, Slack has a very intelligent plugin included, where based on your team's conversation and all the groups and wherever you raised blockers, wherever you raised issues, it can generate a very accurate information like release date, blockers, who is blocked the most, who is responsible for most of the blockers, etc. Such information Slack plugin has been producing really well. And last and not the least, Atlassian intelligence. So Jira has been enabled with multiple plugins, and AI generated summaries, Confluence documents, and Jira test plans has been a good option with that. So these four plugins I found very much reliable. Again, one point I'll add here, Mandar. Uh, I think Rahul will also share a few points, but whenever you're using any third party tool or third party website or any bot, you have to make sure the confidentiality and responsibility of your data. Sharing data on any non-secure AI tool or platform is not advisable. So please make sure of the privacy setting of the tool you're going to use.
Right, right. Thanks. I'm sure that is useful to our audience. Rahul, let me come to you. I know you have a very interesting example to share,
Yeah.
and then we can maybe even take a couple of audience questions.
Right, right. So I know, I mean, there were questions as well, where which activities or which responsibilities of a project manager can be replaced and cannot be replaced. And I had summed it pretty well. I mean, simple activities. I mean, let it pulling a report or doing some initial analysis or predicting even the cost. These activities definitely Gen AI can come in picture, but you cannot replace a human when you have to deal with your stakeholders, plus the communication. I mean, you can prepare a communication plan, what plan you are going to follow for your particular project, but the actual communications, the actual stakeholder management, taking all the people or the stakeholders along with you, and agree, making them agree on a value which we have decided for our project. These things definitely we are not going to have any replacement for it. But I do have one interesting, example. We speak about definitely Chat GPT and some major companies which are quite aggressive in making Gen AI popular or with the people and all. But still, there are certain examples or websites which have already gone ahead. So for even for PMO activities, we do have certain organizations which have already come up with a website which actually do your initial analysis. Preparing a dashboard, going insights into the project progress, predicting the project success, and even doing certain management actions. So there is a website called greyfly.ai, which can in fact do almost your 80% of the PMO activities, which are maybe simple and it may need some interventions. But yeah, it's not a recommendation. But yeah, there are just because of AI was there a few years back as well. But recently in 2022, when it's regulated and it's started uh, coming into the market easily accessible to end user, then definitely certain organizations which are going ahead, it's like using a Google map or using a GPS or using self-driven car, right? So some people have already started using self-driven cars, so some companies have already started going ahead and replacing multiple activities. So for PMO, I mean, definitely the viewers may want to visit greyfly.ai, how Gen AI can help in certain PMO activities. Uh, I want to give example of French President, Emmanuel Macron. I have read somewhere that he has also developed a very smart application where whatever uh, his agenda or his uh, uh, projects which he have decided for next 5 years or 6 years, he has actually developed an application where he gets the real time progress. He also gets real time analysis of those, and he directs those different departments, and it's not available to public, but yeah, he can see that analysis and progress on real time, and you go ahead with instruct and go ahead with those projects. Plus, for viewers, I mean, there is a pmmoto.ai. It's a website. It's a really good website where you can actually see what JNAI can do in your stakeholder management and even your project management office activities. So there are multiple examples where there are already developments are happening. Even in software testing, there is a test team which can do everything end to end. And my favorite, I mean, I was surprised that there is actually, I mean, there are multiple websites where which can arrange an interview for you. I mean, you give an interview and you will be talking to a machine. That machine will analyze where you are technically sound, whether you are even emotionally fit for any stressful job. They can analyze and assess your performance technically. They can assess your behavior, and they can even allocate a proper project for you as well. I mean, to that level, the JNI application went up. So yeah, there are multiple things, but we need to go ahead with selective approach, which third-party apps are best suited for us to our policies, and definitely, as Anaya mentioned, your AI application can be biased. So what level of integration you want to have and what kind of data your training data you want to feed that machine, that's really important, so that it can adhere to the values which you want to follow as a PM and to the values of your organization as well.
Thanks. So I want to, in the last 4 to 5 minutes, quickly want to take a couple of more audience questions. There is one on uh, the tools that we talked about, right? So one question is around: do we have ready-made bots to manage projects, or customized app implementation is typically required? Maybe we can answer some of these in briefs because we have like 4 minutes left.
Yeah, so I can take that. So when you talk about ready-made bots, the examples which I mentioned, right, be it a Greyfly or Auto AI, they already have some predefined templates which can be used as a ready-made bots to manage your almost 80% of your project activities. And you can even customize those as per your requirements. So to answer your question, yes, there are ready-made bots. There are multiple organizations who have developed those, and they can almost serve you as a single platform for your PMO activities.
Got it. And then one of you mentioned the confidentiality, right, Anaya? So one question is around how do you think that will be taken care of in future with tools like Devian AI and ChatGPT? Do you see what's your view on?
So at this moment, Mandar, multiple countries and multiple organizations are putting pressure on OpenAI and other AI-based projects where the compliance is being formed and it is being trying to be enforced on such organization. I think Microsoft is and again Bard, Google, Gemini would be on a better position to claim that they are compliance, but at this moment, unless some authoritative audit reports claims that they are safe to use the data, we shouldn't rely on that. Easiest way is purchasing the licenses and getting authoritative licenses to work with these organizations so that they are bound by your data privacy law, and then only you should proceed. So any confidential data for your project shouldn't be uploaded without any consents of your customers or your uh, employer.
Got it. Got it. Thanks. Rahul, quickly, just want to double check with you. You mentioned a website, greyfly.ai. Could you please spell it out once? There is a question on.
Yeah, it's GREYFLY right? That's
Okay,
right.
sir.
And another one was
Greyfly.ai. Okay,
right, and another one was PMOto.ai.
perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah. So last quick, just 1 minute thought from you guys. So if somebody is starting out, a project manager is starting out by using AI in their work. Let's say if they have some initial background in AI, but may not be experts. Is there some kind of a learning curve or path that you may suggest? Very brief, just half a minute answer.
I found there are a couple of very good courses available. One by deeplearning.ai. It is generative AI for everyone. I found it quite good. It has been recommended by some experts as well. Google too has very good courses on generative AI, and I think most of them are free. Few are available on charge, but most of them are free. So anyone who would like to get started with GNAI can get started with these courses. But a very simple and foremost option would be just open Gemini or open ChatGPT, create a account and start using it for your simple language processing questions. Start using it with to create your formatting, then move step by step, use it for reporting, and then move it to tables and statistical data, and you can see the magic. As Gen AI is learning, we can learn along with it.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. Thanks, Anaya. Rahul, any parting thoughts? Rahul, any last comment from you, please?
Hello. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I mean, yeah, we have tried, our best to, touch this topic, Gen AI topic. As a, I mean, project manager, I'm sure our viewers will be having, quite a dilemma whether adapting Gen AI is good or bad, whether I should be worried and all. Yes, definitely. Uh, everybody should be worried, not because something is gonna go away and you be in a spot of bother. No, you should be worried that you should not be left behind. Maybe after 3-4 years, if you are going to have same kind of webinar, then we should not be talking about that we should have done this. Rather than we should be talking about, okay, we have adopted Gen AI now. What's next? So that would
Great way.
be my
Yeah,
thought.
that's a great way to put it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anaya and Rahul, for an insightful session. We are at the end of that hour. Again, thanks to our audience as well for sparing an hour listening to the experts. We hope that it was quite useful, and we'll see you in the next episode, which is coming next week. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.